The government wants to ban blind bidding.
It's not fair that issues like blind bidding are so heartbreaking for so many families.
First of all, what is blind bidding and will this help or hurt our market? Blind bidding is the current offer process that we have right now. It basically just means that all offers are confidential. So if you bid on a property or make an offer on a property, your offer is completely confidential. No other buyer will know what you've offered. It also means that you don't know what anybody else is offering. The reason why people don't really like this is because sometimes it feels like you're bidding yourself up in price, not knowing what everybody else is offering. All right, so since I shot this video, the Trust in Real Estate Services Act has actually amended their prior position on the actual offer process to allow for an open auction, but that actually rests as a decision with the seller. So now we're actually going to see if all those buyers who found that they were not trusting of a closed auction or blind bidding process will choose to conduct an open auction when it is their time to sell. Very interesting stuff. So is banning blind bidding a good thing for our market or not? Well, I figured let's start off with some good old-fashioned research. Is there any other place that we can look to that has banned blind bidding and what happened with their market? And it turns out that there is. Australia actually banned blind bidding a few years ago and it didn't do anything to curb pricing whatsoever. In fact, as a percentage basis, Australia's pricing went up almost on par with what we saw over the pandemic. Now, I couldn't really find a whole lot of quantitative research on comparing the different markets that could have blind bidding versus other markets that don't have blind bidding and create an apples to apples comparison. But in the one study that I did find, it didn't really seem to make much of a difference at all. I think there's another huge potential problem that we're probably not considering when it comes to an open auction bid, and that is something called an escalation clause. So what is an escalation clause? Well, an escalation clause is basically something that you can put in an offer that triggers an automatic increase in price if somebody's beating you. So let's say we have buyer A and buyer B. Buyer A bids $1 million. Buyer B has an escalation clause that caps him at 1.2 million and increases his price automatically to $5,000 over what buyer A is bidding the second buyer A is beating him. So let's say buyer A bids $1 million, buyer B will automatically go to $1,005,000. If buyer A decides to try and beat him with $1,020,000, buyer B's offer will automatically trigger its escalation clause again and go to $1,025,000. Now, what happens if you have two buyers that both have escalation clauses? Well, they basically both hit their max instantly. Now, the thing with escalation clauses is that they can only be triggered if you know someone is beating you, and you'd have to know by how much. So what does this mean for you? Well, it means if you're a buyer that the actual bidding process could turn from a little campfire into a raging forest fire, where offers are moving up a lot quicker, a lot faster, and they're being triggered automatically in price increases fueled by escalation clauses. So I'm not trying to paint a doom and gloom picture. I don't think that escalation clauses are going to become super prolific and prevalent in our marketplace. But what I am trying to say is that we don't know what the unintended consequences will be of such a widespread change. I feel like the government just prefers using the stick over the carrot when it comes to economic policy, and that usually doesn't go so well. Now, personally, I actually prefer transparency in marketplaces in general. I think it makes for a better consumer experience. But in this case, I don't know that this will reduce pricing or make it any easier for buyers at all. In fact, I don't see any qualitative or quantitative evidence to assume that this will be a good thing for anyone. Once again, we see the government trying to fix a supply problem by manufacturing a demand solution. which never really works. I think it's pretty clear as of right now that higher interest rates is what's going to cool the housing market, and that's already begun. But that's just what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments below, and of course my offer still stands. If you would like to know what a property is worth that you've been eyeing, feel free to click on the link below, which will connect you directly to my calendar where you can book a quick time to chat with me, or feel free to email me the property address to adam@visionrealestate.ca, and I will tell you what I think the property is worth and why. That's all for now. Have an amazing day.